And we're live on the Stables Network.
Hey, there we are. Thanks. Hey, everybody out there. Welcome to ATL Prime Sports, brought to you by the Association of Professional Ball Players of America. It's a Dogs Day Tuesday, live in the ATL, talking Georgia football with JJ, my sidekick on the other side of Atlanta. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How about them dogs, TC?
Yes, this is definitely right up your alley today. We're going to have a great show for us. You can get a hold of us at Twitter on ATL Prime Sports. You can get a hold of myself at Quarter Todd. You can get a hold of JJ. Get you one on Twitter. We'll be glad to respond to you. Big show today. We're going to talk about legendary Georgia football player and Auburn head coach Pat Dye, who passed away yesterday. We're also going to talk about the Georgia quarterback competition, which is going to be heating up really soon. And also, we're going to talk about Georgia on the recruiting trail because they are on a big-time roll. So let's go ahead and get started, JJ. Legendary Georgia football player and Auburn head coach passed away yesterday at the age of 80. When you think of SEC football, one cannot forget the contribution of Mr. Dye, a member of the College Football Hall of Fame, my friend.
Yeah, you can't ever forget Pat Dye. Jordan Hare Stadium, Pat Dye Field. He was that good of a coach for Auburn. 99 wins. Unbelievable coach. Two-time All-American at the University of Georgia. Really got the Iron Bowl. What it is today. He took it from being an annual match in Birmingham, Alabama, made it a home-and-home series each and every year, and really, we all remember Bo over the top to win in his second year there at Auburn. Really an unbelievable feat. Bear Bryant had won 9 in a row prior to that. That was the last Iron Bowl Bear Bryant coached in. So he's that iconic of a figure, and you go to his early playing days, he was a damn good dog. He was a DGD, two-time All-American, played both ways, linebacker and offensive line. Both of his brothers preceded him as well. It's going to be a fun topic today to talk about legendary coach Pat Dye.
You know, let's start with Pat's football career at Georgia. Fran Tarkington, a legendary quarterback for Georgia, and of course played for the Vikings and the Giants in the NFL, said Pat Dye was the best football player he ever played with at Georgia. That is one heck of a compliment, man. That's as high as it gets.
Absolutely. Obviously from one of the greatest DGDs, as our fan base likes to call him, Dog Nation. Unbelievable compliment. Fran Tarkington, I think when the NFL did their greatest 100 players, he was towards the top half of the list. So that goes to show you how great of a player Fran Tarkington is. And to say that Pat Dye was the greatest football player that he played with at the University of Georgia is just the ultimate tip of the cap. And again, Pat Dye started out as a Bulldog, has a field named after him, 99 wins, 39 losses, 4 ties, 60 games over 500. That's an unbelievable coaching record. It always dates back to his knowledge on the field as a Georgia Bulldog, as Fran Tarkington talked about. What an unbelievable player at Georgia. And kind of like Dooley. Dooley played football at Auburn and coached at Georgia, and vice versa. Pat Dye played football at Georgia, coached at Auburn.
Right. And when I look at his career at Georgia, just to stay with that for a few minutes, he was a two-way starter at offensive guard and linebacker, SEC Lineman of the Year in 1960, team co-captain, won the William K. Jenkins Award for Most Valuable Lineman. Not only did he do it once, he did it twice. He helped the Dogs to the SEC Championship and the Orange Bowl in 59. I mean, he was undefeated as a player at Georgia Tech, which if you do that, especially back then, you were revered. Played in the All-Star games. I mean, this guy played in the Blue-Gray Classic, the Senior Bowl. I mean, he was as good as it gets at Georgia, JJ.
Yeah, well, and honestly, if you look in a lot of Dog Nation columns, things like that, he's ranks up there in the all-time players. So Pat Dye is very well revered as a University of Georgia player, and like I said, he's most famous for what he did as a coach at Auburn, and I'm sure we'll get into that. Right.
Well, you know what? I mean, he was highly recruited out of Richmond Academy in Augusta in the mid '50s. He was an All-American, All-State, player. He what 56? He won 3 state championships. He was really a stud in track. He placed second in the state tournament in the shot put in javelin. I mean, the AJC selected Dye as Georgia's 3A Lineman of the Year. I mean, think about that. I mean, this guy came from an athletic family. He followed his older brothers, Wayne and Nat. Played for the legendary coach Wally Butts. I apologize for that. I mean, what a heck of a player, man.
Unbelievable player too, and you want to mention a teammate. This guy, by every account, from every Georgia player that I've seen on social media get shared by other Georgia fans, an unbelievable teammate, which is very hard to find in a player like that, where he's all around a great player, all around a great teammate, and then comes around and he's a great coach.
Well, I mean, like you said, the Atlanta Touchdown Club. We want to tell you he was named the SEC's most valuable lineman in '60. I mean, if Fran Tarkenton thinks that highly of you, that's all you need to know. That's as high as praise as you can get as a football player. And, we would be remiss if we didn't mention him playing in the Canadian Football League, Pat Dye.
Yeah, Edmonton Eskimos.
Right. That's correct. He played 3 years of pro football. Pro football is a two-way starter at tight end and linebacker. You didn't play in the NFL, but you still played professional football. And then you served in the U.S. Army to fulfill an ROTC obligation. I mean, hey, when you're in the military, U.S. military in the Army, you're a hero. I mean, that even tops off the stuff that you did in football, JJ.
Yeah, 100%. You know how I back the troops. I support the troops 110%. And then right after he did 2 years in the U.S. Army, Coach Bear Bryant hired him as an Alabama as an assistant in '65. So very well decorated career from college to the transition as a coach, to pro player to transition to a coach. Well revered. You go to Auburn, and he is. I have heard fans of mine that go to Auburn games and see him. He'll shake your hand, say "War Eagle" to you. Never turned away from a picture. He was that type of guy.
He played for the Fort Benning Doughboys. While there, he received the Timmy Award for the Armed Service Most Valuable Player in '64. I bet that's how he caught Bear Bryant's attention. Well, he probably caught it all along, but look, you're revered at Georgia. You're revered while playing in the CFL. And you're revered while you're in the U.S. Army. No wonder Bear Bryant's calling. I mean, think about that.
The Bear Bryant was like a military type coach in the fact that he wanted everything done down to the T and the dot the I's. So very, very must have looked good and caught his radar.
Yeah, he coached East Carolina and Iowa. I mean, he was 48-18-1 for the Pirates, won a SoCon championship. That's very good. He went to Wyoming. I think it was like 6-5 there, and now Auburn. And JJ, would you say at Auburn that it all started when he got Bo Jackson?
Yeah, I mean, Bo over the top. That's I referred to it earlier. That changed the direction of the Iron Bowl. And I mentioned it earlier. I'll mention it again. I think another significant thing that Coach Pat Dye did, he got the game from an annual Alabama Fest in Birmingham, Alabama, to a home and home. that was well respected and it has grown into, in my opinion, the greatest rivalry in college football.
Right up there, it's so hilarious. I'm sorry. It's so hilarious that when he was asked by a member of the Auburn search committee at Auburn, how long will it take you to beat Alabama? His reply was 60 minutes. Let's go. That's one game. We're ready to go. 60 minutes. 60 minutes. A lot of coaches will sit there and go, well, we got to assess our situation here. We got to see what we got in camp and see how we do in recruiting. No. He just came right out and said 60 minutes. So the expectations, he set the expectations at Auburn, which is a tough place to play, and it's a tough place to coach, and he raised the bar higher. You got to have a lot of respect for somebody like that, right?
Absolutely. I mean, he stole Bo Jones. I can't think. Bo Jackson. I wanted to call him Bo Jones. Bo Jackson. He was recruited by everybody in the country. You got him to stay at home in Auburn, where everybody was going to Alabama. He got him to stay, and then the rest is history. Auburn football got put on the map with Bo over the top.
Well, as we know, Bo Jackson won the Heisman Trophy in '85. But, when you look at this, too, something critical, he got Tracy Rocker. He was the winner of the Outland Trophy and the Lombardi Trophy in '88. So, that was another highly recruited player he got. But it does start with Bo Jackson, obviously. And, that '83 team, when it was led by quarterback Randy Campbell, they had a really stifling defense. I honestly think that's where Pat Dye's teams were best, is on the defensive end. I mean, they had an early season loss to Texas, and then they bounced back and won 10 consecutive games. And 5 of them that year, as you know, in the SEC, they were bowl teams. And were ranked number 1 in the nation by the New York Times at the end of the '83 season. They still ended up 3rd in the polls behind Miami, Nebraska. And there was some conflict there, wasn't there?
Yeah, back in the day, there was a lot of conflict in the last couple of seasons. But, I mean, with the bowls and the last couple of games, it was kind of what writer felt good about this team, what writer felt good about that team. And it was really about which writer had seen more of that team than the other team. And luckily, we have a system in place to get the best 4 teams, because I think there have been some interesting seasons if the college football playoff was in existence when Bear Bryant and Pat Dye were coaching.
I mean, his 99 wins are behind Mike Donahue and Ralph Jordan for the most in school history. 71% of his games in 12 years, 4 SEC titles. He became the only. What's that?
That's unbelievable. Like I said, 60 games over 500. I mean, that's a great coaching record.
It is, and he became the 4th coach in SEC history to win 3 straight. And he got Coach of the Honor years in '83, '87, and '88. The Southeastern Conference, JJ, and the college football world lost a true legend. And I can't say it any better than that. And these people at Auburn, they're going to miss him every year. And everybody else in the Southeastern Conference is going to miss him dearly.
Very much so. Rest in peace, Coach Pat Dye.
That's right. The great Pat Dye passed away yesterday at 80 years old. Our condolences to him and his family and the Auburn family and the Georgia family. Speaking of Georgia, the QB competition, man, it is going to be heating up really soon. I mean, think of it. With the addition, this blows me away. With the addition of former 5-star JT Daniels, especially if he becomes eligible this year, Georgia, to me, will have the deepest quarterback room in all of college football. Especially, Daniels has 3 years left of eligibility. Let's set the scene, JJ. Let's talk about each and every one of these candidates. And let's go ahead and start with Jamie Newman, the graduate transfer from Wake Forest.
Yeah, Jamie Newman, a lot of people peg him as the clear-cut favorite to be the Georgia quarterback won this fall. I mean, 2,800 yards he threw for last season, 26 TDs, 11 touchdowns. We all know that. But here's the intangibles that people don't like to talk about. The guy's 6'4", 230 pounds. He can move, and he's big. He's got size. So that's a big factor. He's got 3 years under his belt in the ACC. And remember, folks, last year, before Trevor Lawrence got hot after that North Carolina almost upset over Clemson, Trevor Lawrence started getting real hot. But up until week 5, Jamie Newman was the best quarterback in the ACC. And a lot of people were saying it may stay that way if Trevor Lawrence doesn't get a grip on things. Well, he did and blew it away. But Jamie Newman was right there the whole season. He lost a lot of his receivers. So you expect that experience with the lack of receivers to have George Pickens, Blaylock, Demetrius Robinson coming back, experienced receivers. George Pickens, we all saw what he did in the second half of the SEC championship game. Maybe that game's a little different. I still think LSU probably wins, but maybe if George Pickens is in that first half, Jamie, it's a different story. But Jamie Newman's got a weapon at every position. He's the favorite, but there's a dark horse that we can talk about. But Jamie Newman looks like the grad transfer, looks like he's going to get the reins, a one-and-done type player from Wake Forest.
Well, I tell you what, I just mentioned the addition of JT Daniels. To me, he's the wild card. If he becomes eligible, and I think college football is going to make him eligible, it's probably between Daniels and Newman to start. You know, JT Daniels, JJ coming over from USC. You know, he was, you know, he's a former 5-star prospect. He's got, like I said, 3 years of eligibility. And, you know, he was the first true freshman signal caller in Southern Cal story history to start a season opener in 2018. Then in the second quarter in 2019 of the season opener, he tore his ACL and missed the remainder of last season, allowing him for a medical red shirt. Now, we mentioned that JT, if he becomes eligible, JJ, and he's got 3 years of eligibility left, which I mentioned, to me, this sets up one heck of a showdown between Newman and Daniels. Who do you think wins that battle, man?
Well, I have another dark horse in the situation, but between these two,
we'll go to him in a minute.
We'll go to him in a minute. But JT Daniels, Jamie Newman, I think Jamie Newman's got a clear-cut favorite over JT Daniels right now. Daniels is coming off an injury. Jamie Newman's healthy. Played last year. JT Daniels might have to knock the cobwebs off a little bit. And you mentioned that but the NCAA looming over him to see if he's eligible immediately, or he has to wait till 2021. Because if he has to wait till 2021, that's going to be another interesting take, because Georgia's quarterback room is full. But I think it's Newman. Newman's been on campus. Newman's been on campus. He's been reading the playbook. He's somewhat adjusted to UGA life. I would say over Newman over JT Daniels right now.
Yeah, plus he'll have 3 years of eligibility. So if he doesn't become eligible, then let's go to the next step. Enrollee Carson Beck. If JT is not eligible, then, you know, JT Daniels is eligible, then they'll, you know, new enrollee Carson Beck would most likely redshirt. If JT is not eligible, then Carson Beck is going to be in the quarterback conversation, along with junior Stetson Bennett, and then our wild card, D'Wan Mathis, former Atlanta Falcons wide receiver Tyrann Mathis' son, who was recently cleared to play following 2019 brain surgery. That's your wild card and mine too. What do you think? What do you think, JJ? Does he have a shot?
I think he will be the starting quarterback for the Georgia Bulldogs in 2020 in the fall. Here's why, folks. He's been on the scout team offense. He's been running it all through bowl season. He actually played Bo Nix as the scout team player to get Georgia ready for that mobile quarterback, dual threat quarterback in Auburn. Bo Nix, wonderful freshman season. D'Wan Mathis, He was cleared for football activities. Now he's cleared for full contact in football activities. I mentioned to you, TC, off the air, I did not know if he would get healthy enough to do this. But if he did, I stuck with him. I've seen him in Georgia spring football. He's got a lively arm. If that thing's still good, he's an accurate passer. Played football up in the Northeast, in the Midwest, from Michigan, I believe. And
He's from the Detroit area, Sterling Heights.
And he chose Georgia over Ohio State when Justin Fields transferred to the University of Ohio State. So I should say the Ohio State University. Sorry, Buckeye fans. Got a little bit of blue in me. But anyway, I do think it's Dwan Mathis. I think he's got all the intangibles. He's been in that offense. Kirby Smart has his praise. We saw an article that came out a couple weeks ago. I shared it on our social medias at ATL Prime Sports if you want to go check it out, and at JJ Get You One, check him out. And I retweeted about a week ago when he was cleared to play. If you read that article, Kirby Smart's praise is unbelievable for this young man. The determination to come back from brain surgery in about a year, that's unbelievable. And I think with that determination and a chip on his shoulder, I think he's going to take it, run with it, and be the starting quarterback for the University of Georgia.
It would be one of the most remarkable stories in college football if this kid ends up being the starting quarterback. I mean, think about it. You know, Terrence Mathis said that the University of Georgia saved his son's life. You know, I mean, he went emergency surgery for life-threatening brain cyst on May 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about that. And then in November, this is amazing. He's running the scout team. I mean, JJ, that not only is that a miracle, him doing it, it's really a miracle in modern day medicine. I mean, this kid would be the story of college football if he got the starting job. The stories would go, they would be endless because he's Terrence Mathis' kid.
It'd be a great story. As you mentioned, Terrence Mathis, all-time Falcon great. Son, Dwan Mathis, comes into another red and black setting, comes back from a unforeseen circumstance, not even an injury, an unforeseen cyst on the brain. Like you said, Georgia athletic trainers spotted the symptoms. He noticed it. Hats off to Dwan Mathis for being honest and saying, hey, my head hurts, you know, something's not right. A lot of players may not have looked into this, and it may have cost them very dearly. So to look into this, come back from it, run the scout team by November, you're right. That's a feat of medical medicine. That's a feat of wow on recovery for the human body. And it just goes to show you human will and the power behind somebody to do something powers a lot more than anything else. And that's what he's running off of right now. I'm going to call it soul power, TC, because I can't think of anything else as to who anybody else could come back from a surgery like that from May to November and run the scout team.
You sound like you've been watching.
There's not words to explain.
You sound like you've been watching old clips of Soul Train back in the day, using the soul power. Or you watched the movie Remember the Titans. I mean, look, man, whatever power it is, and I think it's awesome, how could the average fan, whether you're a fan of Georgia or not pull for a kid like this? I mean,
exactly.
I mean, the school, Terrence Mathis said they saved my son's life. And this kid has absolutely zero to lose, whether he's the starter this year, next year. It doesn't matter. He's playing with house money. And, you know, nobody really says anything about Stetson Bennett, who's kind of waited his turn, JJ, too. That will be interesting, you know, to find out, can he stick his nose in there and start? I mean, he's been waiting his turn.
He's been waiting his turn. He was at Georgia once, transferred out, played a year of junior college, had a really good year. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on this, so don't quote me on it, but he may have even won a national championship as a junior college quarterback. Transfers back into Georgia, and now look at this. Folks, we're not even done. TC, we have failed to mention a preferred walk-on that turned down a full-ride scholarship to the University of Colorado State, and it's Will Muschamp's son, Jackson Muschamp. He's in that quarterback room as well. So that's another X factor that you could throw in here. I've never seen a quarterback room like this in my lifetime, and well, I should say in recent events, because back in the day, Florida State stacked them up. I mean, you had Winky, and that one year you had I can't remember who all was Winky, the person who followed Winky, and then all on one team. But anyway, it's a stacked quarterback room.
I can't wait, providing we have a season, providing these kids get started. I can't wait for the stories to come out of the camp for Georgia this summer, midsummer to late into summer, and see who grabs this job. I don't know. I'm thinking it's going to be Newman, just because that they didn't go get him for 1 year for him not to start. He's got to be the favorite, but Daniels is the other one, and the wild card is Mathis. Let's go ahead and go to our final topic. JJ, Georgia has been on a recruiting roll. Let's start with the new Great Wall. We got about 3-4 minutes here. The new Great Wall, Georgia, you got the Dylan Fairchild kid, a 4-star tackle from West Forsyth High School, up the road from me and coming. Man, this kid's future is bright.
Very bright. Georgia's got 2 locked in, ready to go, hard commits. You mentioned it. Micah Morris, the first one, he committed early April. And then recently, Dylan Fairchild, West Forsyth High School, right there in Cumming. Big guy, 6'5", 298. A lot of talent, a lot of raw capability, very good at pulling. Georgia has a lack in that spot with 2 players going pro. Needs an offensive guard that can pull, that can take advantage and protect Jamie Newman, JT Daniels, Dwan Mathis, Stetson Bennett, Jackson Muschamp, whoever it may be. But Dylan Fairchild is a man-child. The guy is unbelievable. Just to show you some of his wit, guys, and his versatility, he's the number 2 guard in the country, number 40 overall player. You don't see that often in offensive linemen. You usually see these skilled guys up there and then an offensive tackle. But an offensive guard at number 2 in the country, number 40 overall, it's impressive. It's earned Georgia. It moved them up from about 15 to 12th in the ranking, and that's their 9th commit so far in the 2021 class.
Right. We got about 2 minutes here or so. When you talked about the Fairchild kid, he just committed on May 30th. 2 other names stick out for me in this class. Elijah Judy. We all know from Philadelphia, defensive end, 6'3", 235, 4-star player, committed in April. And the other one at the quarterback position, Brock Vandergriff. Yep, mm-hmm. Brock Vandergriff out of Bogart, Georgia, 6'3", 200-pounder, 4-star, committed back in January out of Prince Avenue Christian School. And I'll add another one because this is in my hometown, and I didn't want to leave him out. David Daniel, number 2 safety out of Woodstock High School in Woodstock, Georgia, 6'1", weight 85, 4-star. He committed back in September of 2019. These are all really impressive players, JJ.
Yeah, absolutely. And to throw the cherry on top, right now you got the number 7 running back, number 18 in the state of Florida, Lavoisier Carroll, out of IMG Academy as well. So you got more and more running backs coming in to running back you. Kendall Milton should make his appearance first this fall. You mentioned Elijah Judy. The other 2 that we have yet to mention, Chaz Chambliss, that's a tongue twister, out of Carrollton, Georgia. and
That's
a
Chaz
Marlin Jr.
Chambliss. Yes,
Yep.
yes, Chaz Chambliss.
Chaz
Yep, out of
Chambliss,
Carrollton High
big
School.
time. Yep, Carrollton High School. He's number 18 at his position, 255 overall. So Georgia's racking them in. All these 9 commits have at least a 92 rating on the local dogpost.com, which is a little leaning heavy. But overall, nationally, each and every single recruit that they have committed right now is at least an 88.7 grade or above. So the talent is thick in Athens.
Well, and let you know, we don't want to push the cart before the horse because it is early in the process. These kids do, this is only verbal. So we got a long way to go in the process. But, you know, it's exciting. It's early. We'll continue to talk about Georgia's recruiting as we go on later on during the recruiting season. So anyhow, tomorrow night's show here on ATL Prime Sports, Dave Cohen will be our guest, the voice of the Georgia State Panthers, football, basketball, and baseball. We're going to ask Dave, JJ, and I, and Stephanie Stallworth will be with us. We're going to ask him, we're going to ask Dave, the top 3 quarterbacks in Georgia State history, and we're going to ask him also, give us a little preview of the Georgia State 2020 football season here on ATL Prime Sports. For myself, for JJ, we'll talk to you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Good night, or good afternoon, everybody.
Get you one. We'll see you tomorrow night, folks.